And there are lots in between, like this is just an ordinary one really, just like your lifeboat one, it was wearing, Joy was wearing yesterday. Very similar, this is Mountaineering Scotland one. But this actually is slightly more technical. This is actually a hat that just looks woolen, or so it's not woolen, but it's actually waterproof as well. It's a ski type, it's an alpine type hat. And it's not got the flaps, but it does keep your ears warm as well. Too much choice, isn't there?
Yes, and you've not mentioned even colours. So, I mean, if they're all black, to be fine, but then you've got to choose your colour as well.
Up standards as well then. And then, of course, the crucial thing is the banana. As people were, it was not me, but people were linking this into the excellent outdoor book, Sex in the Outdoors, before. In case we all think we're past it, this is actually quite a good book, and I won't go into that one. Put it like this I got this from my father, he always used to put stolen from at the front of the book. This is not stolen from CWV Harrish. So I'll know if this disappears. But that actually stopped the bananas getting squashed. I don't use that so much now.
Do you take that into the co-op and make sure the picture goes?
Okay, and there are so many books. I mean, there's lots of people pulling on different ones. Very briefly, that was when there was the famous Cairngorm blizzard accident, which led to lots of mountain things in. I forgot what date it was. The original thing that came out after that, this was actually Langmuir's original book on mountain leadership, and it's got all the instructions in here. Actually, it eventually got about that thick, and I thought, oh God, I'm losing the will to live here. But basically, there are other ones as well. This is actually a very good one, which is produced by a guy I met on hill walking. Lots of them are transferable, just general outdoor stuff, if you're wanting to take that further. And similarly with first aid. I mean, these are three completely different organisations that I've done some work with in first aid. From the ski patrol one to the obvious ones, the St John's and Red Cross, and then the rescue and emergency care. You don't need a huge one, but they do change the protocols every now and again. And then there are various other books, which you will know more about them just as much about as I have. And there's endless books about the mountain rescue as well. This is quite a fun one with cartoons attached to it as well, And I occasionally put this up on one of our little write-ups, steal stuff from there. Right, where was I? Now.
Excuse me, Charlie, I'm about to go.
Yes.
I was actually waiting until the banana came up.
Oh, right. I want you to drive safely and don't use the banana holder as an excuse on your way back to...
Well, as you know, I sort of go by braille once it gets dark.
And it's getting dark early
tonight.
tonight.
I'm going now.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Good to see you, Jill. Great.
Take care, Jill.
Right, we'll try a couple of things out now in a minute. We can find one of the things. You get all sorts of, like the shelter thing there I have, what have I done with that? It's down there somewhere. You get a sort of bivy bag type thing, which you've seen pictures of. This is actually the small version of the thing which we'll get out and have a go at in a minute. This is actually a Gore-Tex bivy bag. When I went up Monte Perdido, which is in the Pyrenees, which is the highest limestone peak in Europe, it's a 3-day expedition up there from the Ordesa Canyon. And I took this with me, luckily. There's typical as the Alps and the Pyrenees, they have these hostels right up there. So they have a hostel on the high Pyrenean trail. So we got to the hostel. They had much too much stuff with me, but I had brought this with me. But the first night we were on this hostel with what's called alpine bunks. So the men are separated from the women, thank God. But you're all lining up. It's not separate bunks. You're all, I don't know whether you've ever been in one of these Tim has. And so Eric was that side, who I was one of my big climbing colleagues, mountaineering colleagues. And I had this other guy, Italian, next to me, and the Italian thought I was his wife all night. And we'd all had a good food, would you believe, miles from anywhere on the high trail. I forgot, I've got the height written down somewhere, but it's about 7,500 feet up. And you had this fantastic three-course meal and wine and God knows what, which is taken up by donkey. And we made the mistake of having that. This is the day before going up Monte Perdido at 11,500 feet or whatever it is, the next day. And there was this Italian, and I was thinking, oh God, I'm never going to sleep, which I didn't much. And his arm kept coming round, and I was also keeping Eric awake with my snoring as well. So it was not a good night. So we then went up past glaciers and God knows what the next day, up Monte Perdido, and there was hardly anybody else out and about except a very fit French couple that we met up somewhere up the slopes. And we came back and I thought, I just can't stand another night in this place. So you're not meant to actually wild camp up there because there are the odd bears and things up there. So I got this Gore-Tex bag out, I actually went about 100 metres, 200 metres from the hostel, and I got the I didn't have a tent, but I thought, it was a starlit night, and I had a good sleeping bag with me. Do you know, I slept like a log that night. And I got this exact bag out that night. And this is your Gore-Tex. And I had put probably mats underneath me. I had a roll mat or something with me. And I got my sleeping bag in this, and it was fantastic. This is actually a full Gore-Tex bivvy bag. So I got that out and slept in that, which is the same principle. And it keeps the warmth in. And I forgot to think about the bears and the wild creatures and whatever else might be around. But I sat back and I looked at the stars, and you can imagine the blast of stars, 7,000 feet up. It was fantastic. So, if I can open it, who wants to volunteer to be?
Not my husband.
This is a foil blanket, which you should have. And basically, if you get somebody who's injured themselves, you need to wrap. You need to keep them warm, first of all. So I'm not just joking there. So Lorraine, do you want them to go with Faye here? So come on, you're down on the ground. So she's had a bit of a... Just see how you can wrap her up.
How are you doing down there? You alright? No. What's the problem? I'm cold.
Well, yeah, that's the problem with it. Just how big is that one? I'm not sure. You're meant to wrap it around as much as you can, really.
Are you going to roast me? Is that bacon? Are you able to move?
Yes. It's just a bit of fun. But basically, just put it over and tuck it down.
Okay, I'll
so if you get somebody, it's like, or even somebody who can still move, you can wrap them in round their shoulders and so on. Keep the warmth in if they've got an injury. The classic is, which I've had to do on both foul when I was with two mates.
Stop it. Yes, I'm getting well now.
Are you alright, Mother?
Nothing to do with that heater on the wall.
I just thought it'd be fun to see on a foil blanket. So basically, this will keep. You can get up now, patience.
Thank you.
This keeps the warmth in. That's the point of it, and that's why there's baker foil. It keeps the warmth in. So it's the exact same principle. It's only usable once, so that was. So I'll be budgeting for about £500 for U3A. But no, they're really useful to have with you, even if you're out with family or something, because even if you don't carry an extra layer, you know, it's useful to have. And like one day I was out on a beautiful day, but it was freezing cold in the Langdales and near Beaufort. And we came across this guy there, and a couple of them there, and he dislocated his shoulder. And he'd actually been up another fell. Well, dislocation is absolutely... So he thought he could move, but he got more and more in pain. And by the time we got to him, they'd already called the mountain rescue. But because the three of us were fairly experienced, we actually put him in they had a shelter with them. So we got him in that, we had to call the helicopter in. And then we got him in, but all the tourists that were there, because it's actually quite a honeypot, that particular pass, they all thought this was a practice and a joke. It was actually real. And of course they couldn't believe their luck when the helicopter arrived. So Ralph was having to clear all these people out of the way, because it was about the same temperature as today really. And the wind was coming in, beautiful day. But anyway, he was taken off to Whitehaven Hospital with his mate. I don't know whether I think they got back all right to get their car eventually. But if you have something like that, you can't move, so that's very useful. Or anything else you have with them, or a bag, a bivvy bag like that.
It's holding everything down when a helicopter comes.
Sorry?
It's holding everything down.
Yeah,
when a
yeah,
helicopter comes
yeah.
in, and loads of eye injuries if people are not, dust that's being.
Well, there wasn't so much dust that day because it was winter, but we had to wait while it refueled at wherever it was going to refuel, which was a bit. Anyway, we saved the mountain rescue having to come out that day.
Sorry, do you think they're better than the ones with the bags that you put in?
Well, I mean that key is immediate. You can wrap that round quite a bit. I'm not going to get it out, but this is actually a useful bag version. Or the Gore-Tex one is a bag.
Yeah.
The problem with those is you have to get people in it.
That's what I was thinking.
So I'll just show you how. What have I done with the shelter? Is it down here somewhere? We'll need to have a couple doing this who don't mind. Do you want Sheila and Ian? Do you want to get in? Do you want to have a go with this? So I'm just thinking of COVID. We don't want you to get COVID. Well, this is a two-person bivvy bag, shelter. So basically, this bit here, you're putting under your bum, this bit. So that's giving you immediately bum thing. And that bit that side. So this is a two-person one. Okay? So you're basically bringing it, you're getting on the ground, and you're having to, I probably couldn't do this with the arthritis in my knees, but you're having to get on the ground. You can do it from the ground, and get underneath and put it under your bum. And this bit is the stuff, rather like that blanket. Okay?
It's all right. This is going out after the watershed. Don't worry.
Actually, it's inside out.
It's inside out, is it? Right, okay.
Not that it matters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there you go. It's just the label.
Somehow, in this.
Get down on the ground. On the ground. Put that under your bum and sit down with it under your bum. I'm just giving sex in the outdoors.
What was that come up then? Oh, wonderful.
There's so much, I have such a laugh when they're saying it.
Actually, that's part of it.
I'm
You
sure.
know, you really do. You know, as I say,
The glasses didn't even stick.
Didn't even fall off. What a
it gave you the point, didn't it?
Yes.
So immediately, just like that, and actually it can be equally as hilarious. So when I was talking about the group in South Wales, in the Brecons, within minutes when I got that big one out, the whole morale had raised completely. We got the food out, you had food, and just people were just, hopefully not all at once, falling around laughing. But also the temperature increases. So it's actually it's better than tent because you don't have to put it up. You're just literally putting it under your bum. And even with the ordinary material, that is insulating you to some degree. And it's quite good if you're going out with families. I mean, I know we've got larger groups on the whole, but you know, your two-person one is fine in case there is an accident, because you can get one able body and your casualty there. Or you can use it just to wrap around somebody, a single person. So in many ways, I think it's just as good as, don't quote me on this, I'll probably get health and safety police at me. It's just as good as a foil blanket, really. But you can see immediately,
Yeah, we when we were out with John Phillips on a walk on the mainland, it wasn't a huge walk, but we were going to walk up to the hills above Elandoonan, and we'd been out about an hour and a half, and he noticed that the weather was coming in, and he had one of those, and we had, again, about 10, 11 of us, and that's what we did. We actually got out and used it. And we stayed under it for about half an hour while the blizzard went over, and it really did make a difference.
Yeah, and people do stay in them overnight, you know, if you're absolutely stuck. And it has very definitely saved lives. They're a really brilliant modern, fairly well, it's not modern now, it's been invented for quite a few years. The other thing I've used, particularly with young people's groups, which we don't get to bother about, I thought you might be interested to see the difference in these. That is a fully fledged, I won't get it out because you'll never get it recoiled again, but that's a fully fledged climbing rope.
Gosh.
Over 30 foot long. It keeps it in the bag. Again, the bags are really useful, these sort of things. But I just thought you might be interested in that because you might not have seen that like the crampons before. The thing I have used is what's called the safety rope, which I won't get out, which you'll see looks like that, and is actually, again, I have this about young people's groups out, particularly, and they become a bit nervous. Somebody was talking about yesterday, was it the favourite mountain, Blencathra? Was it you, Joe?
No, I think it was probably Jill, wasn't it?
It was Jill actually talking about Blencathra, and she and I share a liking for Blencathra, and it's an amazing mountain because you can see it from the road to Keswick, from Cockermouth.
Sharp edges, not much.
No, but there are various ways up Blencathra, even hilltop ledges, I can't remember. There's one quite good way, you feel you're quite exposed, but people do get nervous when they're out, and you can immediately tie this round people's, you know, and tie them onto you, and there are various safety, you know what you're doing, but you'll see, and this just makes them feel secure, you know, if you're in some sort of exposed place, and not for our sort of groups, but if you're on...
You did offer it.
I did offer it,
You
actually,
did offer it.
on the Dun roaming one, wasn't it? The second Dun, which we went up, but you can see how that's much thinner. But this would hold a Land Rover on it. So it's still very, very strong. Again, modern fabric, modern nylon ropes. Can you imagine when we used to carry the hemp ropes around with us?
Do you want to look at this, David?
No, I'll just go through them. I think it's more or less covered. Is there anything else people wanted me to say or do?
Just never expected the Step It Up walks were just so severe.
You listen, you don't know what you get up to.
Yeah.
I did actually, I've not been allowed to forget it, offer they saved me taking it because they all refused, but there's a second Dun which is about 1 mile, 2 miles in or something, near on the Struan side, isn't it? We did that walk, and the second one was a bit hectic just to get to it, so some people chose to go round, but if you go up, there's just one slightly hectic bit as you go up to this Dun. It's actually an amazing place. It's in one of these books here as well, so. But nobody took it up, the offer up, but there you go. But we had some people going up like mountain goats up there.
Some people were crawling up.
And some people were crawling. Well, we don't have any style, do we? We're not bothered about, we do bum routes, you know, the bum crawling style. Harrish does that sometimes, coming down. Is there anything else that folks want to...
Well, yes, Charlie, apart from it being eponymous, it's got what a pretty Harrish Creek bag. What role does that play?
That's my shopping bag and the briefcase.
Oh, right. Well, demonstrate.
It's not got anything much in it. It's got a newspaper and a face mask, which I was going to wear. But yes, so... Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
That's an icon, yes.
Or you can, you know, do... I don't know what that's... I mean, the main thing I want to get across is what you do. And I hope that you're not confused about, or you think, oh, I've got to go out. I'm not saying you have to go and buy things like that.
Well, we know you've got them.
That's the problem. And you know, but the health and safety thing, I think all Colin, myself and David would like to say is that the whole point is not to put people off going out, you know, because, you know, you can have so much stuff in terms of forms and God knows what. There was a classic secondary school I was involved in at one time from the governors, and they had 20 forms to fill in when they did a residential. You think, oh, for God's sake, who wants to do all that? You know, I know you've got to be safe, and I think on the whole, the balance in U3A and the excellent cards we have, you know, in David's circulation is fine. And you do know, when I'm going out with the group, I don't think the group would mind me saying, but when I go out with the group, I think everybody knows that I cast a wise eye before we set off, you know. You know, if I would have no hesitation if I thought somebody, particularly at this time of the year, or any time of the year on Skye, was not safely dressed. I did take a risk once with Harrish. I shouldn't be saying this when he's not here, but he arrived back from number of his holidays from a hot climate, and he insisted on wearing his summer trainers. Well, they were summer shoes, really. Well, put it like this, they were no longer trainers by the time he got back. But I did take the risk. I thought, well, they're all right, they've got a bit of a sole on them, but he'll learn. And he actually went out and bought a pair of boots next time. But no, seriously, you do have to make sure that you're happy to go out with the group. And yeah, Harrish probably overcompensates by taking too much. But I'd rather do it that way around than too little. And with family, you know, people have said about some of the walks we do, they're very good for families as well. And, you know, you just have to keep an eye on the thing. My own family, touch wood, of confidence in me going out with them, you know. And, I mean, the things I've had to deal with, the accidents when they have happened, I mean, have been fairly infrequent anyway, and they've never been obvious. And by and large, most of the things I've had to deal with have not been with the group I've been walking with. Coming down Ben Nevis, I was doing the Three Peaks 3 days running, and Ben Nevis was first on the list one day, and luckily we had quite a big group, and I had a deputy with me, a wonderful female instructor, and we got near them, and I'd seen this couple of lads there, and basically they were absolutely exhausted. They'd been out overnight, they completely miscalculated. So luckily, the young woman who I was with, who was also instructing, she was able to take our group down, so they were safe, and I had to get this couple of lads off the hill. So nothing to do with my group, you know, but you had to make sure everybody was safe, and we got them down, I got them into the campsite and all the rest of it. So, you know, things happen, and it will happen on Skye when you're out and about with the visitors and so on, particularly. But don't worry about it, you know. And if you're in any doubt, just ring your mobile, call some help in and whatever. And mountain, you all know, I'm sure, but you dial 999 for mountain rescue. And go ask for the police and then mountain rescue. Is there anything I've missed out? Or I mean, there's piles I've missed out. And I brought along a selection of maps and books of Skye and elsewhere. I think I've covered most of the compass things. You've seen the compasses, most of you know the modern compasses. I have much simpler to use. You know, you can get, and what you do is have to believe the orange needle is pointing at magnetic north, and then you line things up accordingly. Any other, David or Colin, do you want to say?
Could you at some time give us some instruction on the use of compass?
Yeah, I will. I thought what I'd do on that, I was meaning to do it this autumn, is do a sort of pop-up thing, because the autumn got so wet, and then we're now suddenly in winter. But certainly when the weather improves, gets warmer, I thought we'd do an outdoor pop-up session on that. I don't mean anything too complicated, just on navigation generally. Because people often ask me, you know, because we have 35 different walks in North Skye now, and people say, how did you discover this? Well, I just used the map and got out there, basically. But yeah, I haven't forgotten that. I'm sorry I haven't done it before.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Charlotte. It's been excellent. I just like, because of all the stuff I'm surrounded with, it brought to mind a story from our B&B days. April and May, sort of from 2010 onwards, we had some really good April and Mays, and we used to get a lot of climbers coming up to do the ridge, the 2-day ridge walk. So lots of the local Skye guides were around our area. So we had all their names, and if anyone asked, we always recommended, you know, what they are, and said that there are loads more. So we had 2 ladies that came up, weren't really experienced climbers. They had done a bit, so they had a day up in the mountains first, and then on the first good 2 days, they then started their walk about 5 o'clock, met down in Glenbrittle, and off they set with this local Skye guide. So we saw them, we always get a little bit wary and just think, you know, keep your eyes on what's going on just in case. Anyway, they arrived back on their, at the end of their second day, absolutely drained, came in, had a good old shower and more refreshed. So in the morning, obviously, we asked their stories, because you always get some wonderful stories. So their story left me with a bit of a dichotomy, and I was a bit, wasn't quite sure. So, as I said, they weren't overly experienced. Their kit was okay. It wasn't, you say, top range, but it was worthwhile, okay. But they very proudly said that when they arrived, they got these old boots, and we've walked all over. We were mainly fell walkers and hill walkers, walked everywhere. So off they went, 5 o'clock in the morning, and they said that we'd gone for about an hour, and one of the ladies said, the sole of my boot came off. So she said, you know, I had it like that, and it was doing this, you see. So I thought, oh crikey. So I said, what happened? She said, oh well, she said, the guide said, don't worry about it, went into his bag and brought out some gaffer tape. Yeah, duct tape, you brought that. Wrapped it around, and she did the ridge walk like that. Okay, so I thought, well, that had to have been a bit risky. So was that a good move by the Skye guide, or was he confident in the tape? She showed me the boots, and sure enough, they were there. And I thought, well, I'm not really sure whether I want to go with him as a guide, or would I? So you got a balance. So anyway, I contacted him, and I said, I heard the story from the ladies. Can you just give me the name of that tuck tape? Sounds like brilliant. Which he did, and I use it still. So I thought, I've got something out of it anyway. But Charlie, once again, entertainment-wise, absolutely brilliant. Your knowledge, your skill, and the way you tell it is just brilliant. So all I'd say is thank you very much again. And we look forward to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, because you've got a book coming out sometime, and by Jove, we'll have you out for that. So Charlie, thank you very much. Just brilliant. As I say, just have a look round.
Yeah, do a look and look at things.
Yes, yeah. That's absolutely superb.